gang. Dr. J, Steve Jensen from Impact Training and the National Sales Academy. Now, as you know, I always find the best people to bring on and do an interview with. And today, I've got a really great friend of mine. I met Oksana a few years ago now, and she's an absolute expert in branding and marketing and customer engagement. Now, I'm going to share some things with you before I introduce Oksana, because when I met Oksana, we're actually at a presentation, and the presentation was about communication. And she walked up to me and just engaged with me, and guess what? We started having a conversation. And the reason I bring that up is because when it comes down to marketing, sales, customer retention, it's all about having an engaging conversation which leads to other things. So today I'm going to introduce you to Oksana, who has been in sales and marketing all her life. She's run her company, which is a global company, Impero, which has been running for 20 years. And what she does, she specializes in helping people, companies, engage with their clients, their prospects, and also with their staff members. So no further ado, let's introduce Oksana. Hi, Oksana. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, Steve. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Look, I'm really excited about talking to you today because one of the things that we do in sales is actually screaming for more leads. But I remember when we started talking about marketing, and you were talking about marketing from a very different place. You do marketing differently. And one of the things I get really excited about is having something that's different in the marketplace. So before we get started about the marketing and the retention stuff, tell us a little bit about you.
A little bit about me. As you can hear from my accent, I got a European background. I arrived in Australia 20 years ago from Russia. And I run Impero. I love yoga. I live in Bondi. And I have an amazing business that gives me opportunity to travel a lot. And I can run it from everywhere. And I've been very privileged to work with some very exciting clients who become friends and also learn a lot through the conferences and networks that I attend and meeting interesting people.
So you do tons of networking events. And I remember when I first met you, you were going to go across to a networking event in one state and then to another state. But one of the other things that I got when I was talking to you from the very beginning is that you do things differently with your company. Now, you said that you meet with lots of people. What are some of the types of people you work with?
It's a great question. I'm a big fan of Seth Godin, and I think with marketing, the number one question is you have to be very clear. Who are your people? You have to create the tribe. So as I say, people like us do things like that. So this is the fundamental of finding the people that on the same page as you are, so you can work together because you have the same values, that this is a foundation and this is what you build on. And I think, you know, the way we connected, Steve, it's not because you're in sales business, I'm in marketing, because fundamentally we share the same values. And this is where, with anything you do, I think this is where you have to start.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about, when we got into business conversations, you were very big on actually talking about people's brands and also their values. I'd love you to tell our listeners, and I'm sure they'd like to know a little bit about this. How did you get into marketing? Because sales and marketing are married, but they are very different. And you do marketing very differently. But how did you get involved with marketing?
My sales career started very early, at the age of 6, back in Russia. I guess when you know your product is easy to sell. I was selling strawberries back then, and we grow the strawberries. So I have a quite good product knowledge of how we grow it and what's the difference in different types. And since being in Australia, originally I started a hamper company. It was called Gifts on the Run, and I learned sales, or not actually learn, I practice sales on day-to-day basis. And I think this is where the best learning can come. You can do all degrees, but until you sit in front of the customer, until you ask the question, what problem do they have? And then ask yourself, are you the person who can help them to solve this problem? And with sales and marketing, marketing talks to many and sales talk to individuals. So how do we create the message that can grab people's attention and resonate with them? So then soon, with the outcome, sooner or later for them, they become your customer. The only purpose of marketing is to generate and lead to the sale. And if it doesn't, then something wrong with your marketing, I would say.
You're spot on the money. Look, when it comes down to marketing, you do things very differently. Now, there's only one part of your business, but you use a thing called bulk email, where you send people things instead of sending them a download or whatever the case may be. And you create a thing called memorable experiences. I'd love you to give us an example of some of the things that you do a little bit differently for instance, branding. And I'll go through a couple of little things, but let's just start with one at a time. How do you create an experience with some of the things that you do? And I know you have over like 30, 40, 50,000 different types of products and that you can send people. But give me an example of a strategy that you've used in the past for branding.
Again, over the years, I created the 6-step process that before we do any engagement, we sit and discuss what are the 6 steps that, not steps like a big stones that we need to cover before we create any campaign. And it's, 20,000 products. It's never about the product. It's how you make sure that wherever we try to communicate, going to connect and create experience to the person that we're targeting. So this is going back to doing research on, if it's your customer acquisition program, you need to be very clear who are the people on your list and have the information that's relevant to them. So then you can create message that's relevant to, that will resonate with them. Because if all marketing needs to come to some sort of emotions, some sort of shape or form, because who want to be in another funnel? I know I don't. A lot of funnels, they lose in personalization. It's like one approach to everyone, and it doesn't work like this. It needs to be more targeted if you're looking to get a result. If you're not just looking to do the numbers, like 15 years ago, marketing was easy. You put the ad in yellow pages and you spend your marketing budget and you pray or you hope that telephone will ring. Same with the TV advertising. Now consumers are very different, and the way we should market to them, it has to be very individual and very different to the mass marketing, I would say.
So when it comes to marketing, it's such, and I know you're very big on branding. I remember one day when I was using an old type of pen, you said, well, that doesn't match our brand. I said that you have a quality product and service, but the pen is ordinary. So how do you help businesses, and I just give an example of our pen, but about linking the brand to the thing that they receive? Just give us a couple of examples of that.
You have to be very clear what's your 5 words, let's say, that will describe your brand. The adjectives, like if you're saying, and they need to match to your target audience. Let's say if you're a Jetstar, so your brand might be fun and young and experienced and not very expensive, affordable. So when you put all these words together, when you look at the things that you want to give away or you want to create the campaign, you need to make sure that the product that you're choosing represent those values. You can't say we're all about quality and then give something to your clients that fall apart or doesn't work. Because you buy a cheap umbrella and you can buy umbrella for $5, but before you do that and put your logo on it, you have to ask yourself, does this product will represent my brand in the light and communicate what we're all about? Because what you buy and sell says more about your values than what you say.
So look, I'm going to get you to say that again. That's an absolute nugget. So just say that again about the difference about what you do and what you say.
Okay, so what you buy and what you sell tells more about your values than what you say. Perfect. I give you an example. My friend runs Airbnb, and I made a suggestion for her to use the thank you product, you know, the products that have social impact in the bathroom, and use the toilet paper from the company called We Give a Crap. So this is the toilet paper that costs double than normal toilet paper, but it's not about the cost. Suddenly, after a couple of weeks of new people coming and staying in this accommodation, the review that people leave, because as a host, a lot of they don't let you meet the people who stay with them. But by choosing the product for the bathroom, they communicated their values. So they could buy different shampoo or different body wash or whatever they use, but by choosing this brand in particular, they show the people who come and stay with them what their values are. So be careful. And if you don't have a budget, and I sell promotional products, this is what my business is, but it has to serve the purpose. And if it doesn't add value to your brand, or it doesn't add value to your customer or customer experience, I would say do nothing. Save your money for campaign that actually gonna achieve the result that you're looking to generate.
Perfect. And a lot of people actually don't do that. They actually just do it quickly, and they do it cheaply, and there's let's say a disconnect. So given that we're talking about a customer experience, let's just shift that now to, say, lead generation. And I think having it married up to the branding and making sure that it matches their values is really important. Could you give us some examples of lead gen? Because a lot of our guys in the Sales Authority Club and the Sales Success Club are always looking for more ways to generate leads. So get an example of a campaign that you did that actually matched up with the values and actually increased the amount of leads or quality leads, because everyone gets lots of leads and they're not that great in quality sometimes.
Yeah, as I said before, start with your list, be very clear who is your ideal clients, and then also it has to be the process or journey that you have to design. You know, I'm a big fan of lumpy mail and direct mail, because in today's digital world, I personally don't want to give my email address to another download or free ebook. It becomes a little bit, people are over it because they know the purpose of that. You collecting the data and start market with endless email campaigns, and it doesn't work. So how do you break through? So if you create campaign where you send it to qualify leads, of course, it has to be bulky mail, because statistically, bulky mail get open 100% of the time. If you receive the envelope or box in your post office or in your office, you're going to open it because people are curious. Then obviously it has to be clever messaging, it has to convert, and then you need to think what is the next step is. I don't know, if you have bright ideas, you might want to send them the torch that they can use on the key rings and say, look, we have so many bright ideas, I'll be calling you next week. So it's, don't expect that people will call you it has to be the process that you follow up to saying, hey, did you receive my torch? Or if you have great insurance company and you say, we cover you for all your insurance needs, you can send them great quality umbrella that will communicate this message. But make sure it is a quality umbrella, because if you say we get your needs you cover, and then send them umbrella that breaks, this is where the mismatch, people start becoming suspicious that if this is how you cover me in the rain, imagine if I give you my health insurance and you're going to treat me the same way. So it has to match, it has to be consistent, it needs to be congruent, and it has to be the process. And Steve, you are big on processes. You don't think, you can just call someone and get a sale. It needs to be system and process. How do you convert? What questions that you ask, so you get the best value out of every conversation you have, not just a chit chat information that you always have that never leads to anything.
No, you're absolutely spot on, Oksana. And they're great examples that you've given us. Hey, a bright idea, send them a torch. And it's just a little torch that stays on their keyring. Doesn't cost you $1 million, but it becomes memorable. And what a great idea as far as insurance is concerned. We'll cover you and give you a quality umbrella. And that's something, they wouldn't throw it away. They say, hey, that's a good umbrella, I'll keep that. And I remember you telling me another idea you had about people sending out, oh, we missed you at a health club or whatever. And then people send out these little cards. She says, no, why don't you send them some tissues? And people just say, oh my goodness, isn't that cute? I think those small ideas, which are really big ideas that take action, actually create experience. And you're all about engagement and experience. And there's one strategy of many that you have called surprise and delight. Now, we've talked about branding. We've talked a little bit about leads and getting a what's next activity. Another thing I just want to cover before we wrap it up today, because I know you're busy, is the thing that you talk about is it's not just about the new clients and your existing clients, also your staff, how to surprise and delight and create a wow experience for your team members. Could you give us some examples of that?
Surprise and delight is probably my favorite program that we implement very successfully, because if you ever have a painting in your friend's house or in your house and you've been looking at this painting for a while, after a while you don't see the painting. So this is a baseline. I always talk about standard and extras. So if you always have drinks with your staff on Friday, after a while, and this is an extra, after a while it's become standard. So we're talking about what can we do that unexpected, that gonna create the wow experience. Because this is what's get people closer. If you always do the conference, let's not do the conference, let's do walk from Bondi to Bronte. Take them out of the office now, Sculptures by the Sea. Let's take your team to see Sculptures by the Sea. Reward them when they're less expected, and do it systematically. But when you talk about surprise and delight, it needs to be something extra special and something new all the time, so it does not become a standard for people who are receiving it.
That's gold, and that is perfectly put. A sign it disappears. A beautiful painting disappears. A beautiful view just gets taken for granted. And I think some of the strategies you've come up with in the past are just absolutely gold. Now we're going to have to wrap up now, and there's one last thing that I just want to cover. And one of the things that you always say to me is, if anyone going to spend any money on marketing or branding or customer engagement, there always has to be an ROI. Now, you might have a high-end client, and what you're going to do is surprise and delight a high-end client with a budget. And if someone's a mid-range client, you'd have a budget for them. And then someone will say a low-end client that doesn't spend a lot of money, you'd have a budget and it matches the ROI. Could you give us an example of that? And we'll have to wrap up on that because I know you've got to fly. So I'll just try and grab something else from you before you disappear on me.
very, very good question. And talking about flying, everyone knows if you're flying, you have an economy, you have business, and you have first class. So do you have this separation? I think it's critical to have this separation in any database, in any client segmentation, and create the marketing for every segment, because the first class client, obviously not the same value as person who travels on economy once a year. So create the steps can be the same, but the value of what you give out can be accordingly to how much value this client is to your business, and what's on average, how long they stay with you. And I always believe sometimes it's better invest a little bit, because as you know, it's 6 times more expensive to get the client than keeping the existing one. So just simply and a lot of clients leave because they think people don't care. So, and it's easy to take existing client for granted. You think, oh, they're here, we're doing a good job, but it's not enough. You have to create engagement. You have to, product is step number 1. Number 4 in my blueprint, it has to be a systematic approach and really custom design campaign for each of your customer category, I guess.
Yes, look, I think that's well put, because at the end of the day, if someone's spending $100,000 a year with you, well, you need to surprise and delight them accordingly. If someone's going to be spending $100 with you a year, that would be obviously different. So it would be planned accordingly. And I remember you telling me that you get certain things that you would send people on their, let's say, their birthday or the anniversary of them being a client, and it would be slightly different. It would be weighted on the value that they're to the business, which means then you can justify the expenditure.
Of course. Yeah, and measure your ROI, because all ideas of marketing, that you create campaign, you run the campaign, then you measure the results, so you can tweak it and go improve it and repeat it. Without measuring, without not getting numbers, this is, I don't know how you call it, hallucination, not marketing.
It's a waste of money.
Yeah, it's a waste of money.
Look, Oksana, we could spend hours, and I'm going to invite you back again, because I'm sure you're going to be able to give some great value to our members, and I just want to make sure that they're able to contact you. So you've got all these wonderful ideas. I'm sure you've got everyone thinking about some different ways to do things, whether it's customer engagement or client retention, staff retention, all those sorts of things. And I know you have lots of ideas to share. So how can people get in contact with you?
Email, I would say the best. My email is oksana@impero.com.au. Feel free to email me with the questions. I like all the questions that people have. Happy to answer. Happy to give you ideas. Happy to do discovery session, 20 minutes phone call to see how we can add value to your marketing, so you can create better customer engagement and make your brand memorable.
Okay, and what's the website that they can have a look at? What's that, the website address?
It's impero.com.au.
Just spell Impero for everybody, because some
impero.com.au.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Oksana.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hey,
Bye.
guys, how good was that? Isn't it interesting? We've got to look at things a little bit differently. I hope you wrote some things down, and you're going to take some action. How are you actually measuring what you're doing with your marketing? How are you doing things a little bit differently to make sure that you are perceived in the marketplace and have that value equation that everyone's looking for? I hope you found that interesting. I'm going to invite Oksana back, and I'm sure she'll have some other great ideas, just like the one to say, hey, have some great cover, give you a quality umbrella. All right, gang, put some comments down below and let us know what you think. I'm Dr. J, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.